Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the GuildMag podcast. I just saw you then go, hi, we're live!
I was typing a comment still thinking we were playing the music and then you're like, hello, I'm like, oh! You caught me unaware.
Hello, welcome to episode 22 of the GuildMag podcast. This week we're going to be talking about the legendary precursor blog post that came out. What else are we doing? We're doing map-wide rewards. That's going to be horrible to say throughout the show. And we're also going to try and stick in some specialisation stuff as well if we have time at the end, because we promised we would last week. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about the closed beta stress test that happened this week, which I got the, I was about to say misfortune then, which I got the pleasure of playing, and I was like, that's not the right word.
Is that a Freudian slip? Did you just really not enjoy the beta?
So I guess we should kick things off then. You've got some gem store news that you've sneakily stuck in the top.
Yeah, well, I thought there was quite a lot coming through and I thought we might just talk about it. There was a Lion's Arch commemorative sale, which was pretty cool. That is over now, but during the sale there was Lion's Arch die kit, permanent airship ticket, and Scarlet and the Toxic armor pieces for sale, which was really cool. I really like this idea of a commemorative sale. It would be nice, like, if, you know, when the city gets rebuilt, they have the commemorative sale and there's a little bit of more festivities going on, like maybe banners around the place or something. That would be a really cool idea. But yeah, that's over now, so they're not on sale anymore. A really cool thing that came out was the musical bass guitar. This is really cool for two reasons. I love the instruments so much. And the second thing is it works really well with char technology. You can see the way it's designed is all designed from char technology, and it fits into the lore very well. Did you see that one?
I haven't actually seen it yet, like in game or anything. I've only seen the blog post of it, but I imagine it's quite
I haven't heard it in game either, actually.
So it could just sound terrible, and we're just here like, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it could be the trumpet. The trumpet is the only instrument where I've gone, why? Why is this part of the game? I love all the other instruments.
I think I remember the podcast where we covered that, and you were just like, no.
No, yeah. I do not like it at all. It's like, like if it had like a character making like the face while they do it, I think it might be a little more fun, but it doesn't sound very good. And Screen Nagger says it's freaking bass guitar. It's amazing. So obviously Screen Nagger really likes it very much. As well, that came out was the Mad Scientist mining tool, which looks like a rifle, but it kind of like sucks up craftables like a ray gun, I guess. It's just an ultimate mining pick, I guess.
It's another mining tool, you know.
Yeah, it's nothing spectacular. It's not like the Jobotrons, which I brought every single one, and it's the best money I've ever brought. Best money I've ever brought. Best money I've ever spent. So yes, that's some people like it. You know, more power to you. And the last thing was the script finisher, which made me giggle with girly glee. It is basically this script, and so when you put down the finisher on someone's face, the script comes and digs through and produces a bomb and then runs off or something like that. It's quite cute. I love script, so I'm instantly a fan of that.
Yay.
But it didn't get released on the blog page. It kind of just popped up out of nowhere. Did you happen to see it?
I haven't seen it in game. I've seen what it looks like, but I haven't seen someone use it on me.
I wouldn't be mad if someone used the finisher on me and it was the script one. I'd be like, ooh, script, shiny. So yeah, that's all for the gem store this week. There wasn't anything that really caught my eye and then made me go, wow. I was expecting the wings to come back into the gem store sooner than this. I'm very surprised. Obviously they made way too much money selling all those black wings.
I'm very grateful that they're not back. So we thought I'd kind of talk a bit about my closed beta stress test impressions, because I mean I haven't even had a chance to talk about it with Casey like off stream yet, so this is the first time for everyone.
I'm really excited about this. I feel terrible. I haven't watched a video. I told you this already. I haven't watched the video. I think I opened it up and went, and it was too slow on my phone or something like that. And I went, oh, I'll watch it later, and I never did. But I'm really excited to hear how it went and how you enjoyed the Revenant class.
Yeah, so if you're watching this live, I've linked the VOD of our stream and my impressions article on GuildMag in the chat. If you're not watching this live, it will be in the show notes. But yeah, no, it was really good. I played with Chris slash Black Lion Chest for all of it, and he's obviously played it at Resd. So he kind of took me through it. Admittedly, it took me. So in the start, you start off in like this first story step, and it took me longer than I'd admit to work out where I had to go in it. So the first like 10 minutes of the stream is me just going to Chris, am I going the right way? And he's already out of it and done. And it turns out like you go in, and then for the first bit you literally have to turn around and walk up this ramp, and I went every way but turning around. So I went around the whole rest of the map, and he's just like, just go to where the green star is, and I'm like, but I'm there like at the bottom when it's meant to be like at the top. So but
we've all got that inner noob that comes out every now and then.
I was seriously going, is this going to be the entire 2-hour stream, me just stuck in this story instance?
Oh no.
But yeah, no, it was really good. I really enjoyed the Revenant actually. It feels unlike any of the other professions, the way it uses the new technology. Like I talk about in the blog post, things like when you wield the hammer, it feels like really weighty. Like your number 3 skill is the thing where you leap and then jump back again, and it genuinely feels like you have kind of leapt there and come back.
Okay.
As opposed to like, I didn't compare it in the post, but like as I main a Guardian, the Guardian's great sword number 3 skills where you do like a giant leap, it doesn't particularly feel like your character has any weight when you do that, because you kind of just go and land. But with this, it genuinely does feel quite weighty, so it feels really good. And it's a really, really like positional heavy class. Like you have to constantly be thinking about what you're doing, because most things are like skill shots or like wall, the moving wall that blocks projectiles and things. So it's really fun to play. Like I didn't feel like at any one point I could kind of just zone out and do my rotation and be like, oh, here's another monitor, I'll do something over here while I'm like killing a boss. You really do have to pay attention, and I really, really like that.
That's cool.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing like the other legends that are available for it. What was that?
Oh my god, I did get in trouble. I'm so sorry.
And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing the other legends, like the DPS / Shiro one. I genuinely believe it will be Shiro. And I think it'll definitely feel, depending on what legend you have, it'll feel like a distinctly different class, which is really good, because I played a bit with Malix. I was mainly doing Hammer with Jalis, but I played a bit with Malix, and it definitely felt different to when you were channeling Jalis. But yeah,
Screen Nigger asks, oh, I've lost it now.
My thing with the
he
Rev
asked,
is, did you try Mace Axe? Is that what you were getting at? Because based on that, I'd say it's probably nowhere near finished balancing. I played it a little bit. I didn't play it as much as I wanted to, because I don't know. I preferred the hammer, because it's a ranged hammer. I was like, oh my god, it's so cool. The thing about the ranged hammer is you're so inclined to go into melee range with it. It takes you so long to like remember the weapon. Yeah, because you're just there with the hammer, and you just instinctively you're just gonna go up to melee range at the enemies. So it takes a while to remember and like force yourself to stay back. But yeah, I definitely. One problem I did have is switching between legends feels a bit clunky at the moment. Like there's some kind of delay on it. Hopefully that's not intended. But I don't think it is, because like switching between all the other stuff across professions doesn't have that kind of delay. But yeah, overall it was really good.
So could you just like give a quick overview of what you did during the instance? Because I originally thought it was an open map that you just got to play and explore, but it actually turned out to be something a bit different.
Yeah, so you begin in a story instance, the first that you'll do like when Heart of Thorns comes out. And you do that. You can only pick from one path at the moment. These are obviously the story instances where they're bringing back the diverging paths you can choose to do different things on. There was only one path available for this beta stress test. So we did that. You do that, and then you come out and you're in the Verdant Brink map. And there's like essentially one event chain. Or I don't even know if it's like the full event chain. It's probably like half the event chain that they've just included. And you clear bombs and stuff, and you fight the just Mordrum everywhere, and then you can go and kill the Wyvern. Not the Wyvern, as some people pronounce it, the Wyvern. As Chris pronounces it, Wyvern, and I was just there like, ooh.
So some fight is gonna break out or something.
And you do that, and they kind of toned down the Wyvern fight for the beta. They said the platform that you fight on is a lot bigger than it really will be, and it definitely felt too easy as like a boss fight. But it was really good. It was a really good fight. And then
Did you get the... Sorry.
No, go on.
Sorry. I was asking, did you get the glider, or is that not?
You unlock the glider. Played around with that a bit. There's a couple of times where I'm trying to like glide onto the Wyvern platform, and I just kind of fail, and then I'm just like gliding to my death, and like.
So I have to ask: does it feel as good as it looks to glide around?
It's a kind of like with the Revenant Legends. It feels like a little bit clunky at the moment, like a little bit of a delay.
Yeah.
Because you basically press you jump up and then you press space again, like while you're in the air to glide, or at least that's what like it's initially bound to. And I couldn't tell because I was playing on this new keyboard which I'd had for like a day, so I couldn't tell if it was me just like feeling weird pressing the space bar that quickly twice, or if it was generally like some sort of delay. It's probably a combination of both, but I think it did feel, once you were actually gliding, it felt really cool. It was really cool.
Yeah. It makes me feel so warm and fuzzy. I love the gliding so much. I'm just looking at some of the comments we get here. Someone's actually asking about some of the legends, but we will actually put that question to the end of the episode if that's all right.
Yeah.
And Screen Dad Girl said, I found the mace axe far more powerful than the hammer based on its torment and confusion upkeep. That actually brings me a question. How was the conditions on the Revenant? Like, did it feel conditioning?
It did. When you were in Malix, it did. And actually, a point that I think would be worthwhile bringing up now that Chris and I talked about on the stream is how are like condition-based Revenants gonna fare in the open world where there's like water fields removing your conditions all the time, because as a Revenant you need conditions on you to put conditions on your enemies, so like when they're being removed on you in water fields and like in just by allies naturally, how is that gonna work? And I didn't get to play with it too much. And there were like everybody in the beta was basically a Revenant as well, so there wasn't too much condition removal happening from others. But yeah, I didn't play too much because I'm not really a fan of conditions. I probably played it like 10-15 minutes total throughout the whole 2 hours. But yeah, it definitely felt distinctly different from wielding the hammer with Chalice, which is really good. It feels unlike any other class. When you switch like weapons in another class, it still feels like that class essentially. But the Revenant, it's hard to explain. It feels almost completely different, in my opinion. Which is really exciting, because it is. It's like constantly switching it up. So yeah.
Because you have to think that they've got 2 years, 3 years? Hang on. What year did it come out? I think it's almost 3 years now.
I think
3 years experience of the classes, and it'd be interesting to see how they put all this experience into a new class, because classes I don't think will come easily to Guild Wars. So I would have put money on the bet that a new race would have come to Tyria rather than a new class, and boy was I wrong. But
I probably would have done the same actually.
yeah.
I'm actually glad that I'm wrong having played the class. I've been saying on the podcast for a while. Based on what I saw, I think it's gonna be my new main. I still think based on if Shiro, assuming we do have Shiro as the DPS legend, is as good as the others are in like doing what they're doing, then I definitely think it will be a new one. So I definitely recommend you all watch the VOD of the stream if you haven't, and check out my impressions piece on GuildMag. It'll probably goes into more depth and stuff I've probably forgotten since I wrote it. So.
Oh well, that's awesome! I'm so hyped to hear that. I'm gonna go watch the video afterwards because I want to see how you glide around and stuff like that. That's what I'm so looking forward to.
Might want to skip to like 8 minutes in after I'm done like fooling around, work out where to go.
Is this the right way? Don't worry, we've all been there. That is normally me after I've had a couple drinks and I hop on the game when I'm tired, and then I'm just like, which way do I go? I don't know. So the blog post that came out this week was a legendary journey blog post. And it had tons of information about legendaries and the legendary crafting system. And the really cool thing was they said that, we're going to talk about it more. Like, this post is just one of a few posts coming. So I'll kind of start from the beginning. So we all know that there's going to be precursor crafting in
Heart of Thorns.
Thank you very much. Heart of Thorns. But it seems like there's going to be a nice little change to how this is going to work, and also there seems to be just a general change to how legendaries are acquired, but then it's also going to stay the same. And I know I'm talking baloney at the moment, but it'll make sense when I articulate what I mean. But so basically, crafting a legendary has 3 tiers, and you kind of build up your precursor and to the legendary weapon to its full glory. So there's kind of like you're building up this weapon. For example, there's a picture from the Chinese client that shows the moot as one of the tiers, or I don't know which one it was, but it's basically just the disco ball on the golden stick. It doesn't have any of the other bells and whistles that the full one has.
Third tier.
3 tiers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the 3rd tier,
Yep.
is it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way it's, they're going to build it up that way. And I really like that. I love the progression to that. There's not a lot of information on how you're going to build it up, but I like this progression there, that it's kind of like a strip down and then you add another thing to it and add another thing to it. So what did you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's really cool how they're kind of changing the look of the precursors to look more like the final legendary weapon. It makes so much more sense, and it's just a nice change, because like when you look at like some of the precursors, they don't particularly look like they could be crafted into the legendaries that they eventually go into. Yep. So it's definitely cool. I think it's a really cool way of like splitting up the amount of work required to get a precursor into multiple tiers, so it doesn't just feel like you're grinding one long tier just to get like one weapon at the end.
I think the big thing about these goals is that it's important to have a sense of progression, and the precursor destroyed that sense of progression by having to grind up 700 gold, which doesn't feel like progression at all. So I think adding this will definitely add add a feeling of progression to it. So I'm quite impressed by how they implemented this tiered system.
One thing I wanted to bring out is we were talking about this in the GuildMag chat. I'm not sure if this has been like confirmed or talked about more on Reddit, because I haven't really kept up with what people have been saying about this particular blog post. But so they've said during the PAX interviews that the precursors gained from this will be account bound, but the way the blog post is worded makes it sound like it's only the 1st and 2nd tier precursors that are account bound. and then the third tier is like the normal precursor that you can sell and trade.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
but it sounds like you'd only be able to get it once, because it's a collection, obviously.
Yeah, there's this thing here that says new legendaries and the precursors of the new legendaries will not be tradable and most likely not drop. And I've added and most likely not droppable. So any new ones will not be, but it's possible that for the old ones that we currently do have, you could trade them.
I mean, it makes sense to me because I was thinking about it and like, for the way they originally worded it in interviews, that they'd all be account bound from getting this, you'd essentially have to have two versions of the same weapon, one that wasn't account bound and one that was, and that just seems like a really weird way of doing it. So this way kind of makes sense that you have the first two tiers that are completely not account bound, but then you can work towards the third tier that you can then effectively sell on if you wanted to. And I suppose this is kind of gonna, if this is true, it would kind of crash the market for precursors. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing if it does, because I mean they're quite high already.
They're a bit too high in my opinion. But that shaman says the way precursors work now really puts me off getting a second legendary. The new system makes me want a second one. Absolutely, I feel entirely the same way.
Yeah, exactly the same for me. I'm working towards Twilight now, but literally on the proviso that I'll get the precursor when this system comes out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And Angel says, it reminds me of a bigger version of the Carapace armor collection from the Silver Wastes, because of, all the little random things that you had to do. And I imagine that the Carapace armor collection was a test for this bigger system.
Yeah.
Oh my word. That shaman says I paid 1,200 gold for Spark.
I can say, like, I'm sure some of them are like 1k plus.
Yeah, that's nuts.
It really is.
But I'll just...
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
No, go on. You go ahead.
No. I was just going to continue going, but if you got more to add, let's hear it.
I was just going to say, I think it's really cool how it's not just things you have to collect, like things like you have to dance for Queen Jenna and stuff like that as well, a part of it, like forgetting the moot. And I think it's a really cool way of, it's not just going to be like a boring grind for items to fill out your collection. It's gonna be a genuine like experience going for this precursor, I feel like. Which sounds quite cool.
And that's what I want, I want experience, not a grind. But like you said, the dance for some of the achievements will be dance with Queen Jenna, and like you said, they'll be themed and that sort of stuff. And there's actually a confirmation for new legendaries in Heart of Thorns, which we already knew, as well as more that will actually be added separate from the expansion in subsequent updates, which was a really interesting thing that they mentioned. So there will be a normal, the current legendaries we have now, the ones that are, I would suspect, are only restricted to people who have Heart of Thorns, and the new legendaries for people who decide not to buy the expansion, I guess, which is really interesting.
It is. It feels like they're kind of pushing legendaries as one game of this horizontal progression thing they're doing, but at some point, like, do legendaries become less legendary when a lot of people have them? I mean, they look like cool weapons, but the idea was the majority of players would never get one. That was like what they said when they first came out with them. So I think it's a kind of double-edged sword with trying to push as many new legendaries out as they can as like a form of progression to keep people interested, but also kind of keeping them like a prestige. They're essentially a prestige item for people who play the game a lot and know what they're doing. So I think there's a balance that needs to be struck.
Yeah, it's such a fine line. I mean, on one hand, you put in these things for prestige, but on the other hand, why add content that majority of the players can't access or feel it is beyond their grasp? I just don't think that's a viable thing. I understand the prestige thing. I mean, I hate to admit it, but there's been times where I thought, oh, this is really cool, and then I've seen everyone wearing it, and I've been like, all right, I'm going to go try some different armor. Like, armor becomes unappealing the more I see it. I get bored of it on my characters, so if I see it on everyone else's character, I'm going to get bored of it too. And I thought the Dreamer was just so cool when I first saw it. And now I'm like, I don't want to touch the Dreamer. I've seen it too much, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I agree, but I think this kind of adding more variety kind of negates this problem, because you don't see the same legendary all the time. Like, there's only one legendary for the staff. If there's 5 legendaries for the staff, there's less chance that you're going to see the same one over and over and over.
That is quite a good point, actually. I'm definitely not against them having more legendaries for people who like do them and grind them, because like if you hate, like, say, the Bifrost, then you're not having a legendary staff at the moment. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing like what the new ones will be.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if they'll have like more. So like Eternity is like 2 legendaries in one for the Greatsword. I'm interested to see if they have more versions of them for like other weapons. So you combine,
That'd be cool.
you
Yeah.
combine 2 to get a 3rd one. I think that'd be really cool.
I hope so. I hope they do that eventually for everything, because it seems like Greatswords get way too much love at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to say again, the new legendaries that will come out, because they want the new legendaries to be prestige items, they won't be tradable. And because they want them to be prestige items, I assume that means that they won't drop randomly from mobs. So as for the legendary market, I don't know if it will actually crash the legendary market, because there will still be demand for people who maybe want a second legendary so that they can change the stats, or these are the only ones that are viable. It's hard to say what will happen, and a lot of people are speculating on what will happen to the legendary market, but no one really knows for sure. One of the big things that came up in the comments about this post was that people were concerned because the pictures kind of suggest that you need to obtain things like the little icons. For example, Dance in Front of Queen Jenna was the same icon as the Queen Jenna mini, which you got for playing the game for a year or having an account for a year. And so when I first saw it, I also assumed like, oh, you need to have an account for a year to be able to get that precursor. That's a bit odd. And also some people were very upset because it had a picture of the preserved Queen Bee, which is 1,000 gold, and the Chaos of Lissa, which is ridiculously hard to obtain at the moment. But it seems like they're actually just recycling assets. The icons are just reusing the icons rather than creating new ones. And it's not actually that you have to get these things. So the picture of the preserved Queen Bee might be, like, get honeycomb from this heart vendor or something like that. It might be something completely different to what you might think. So that's something interesting to keep in mind if you're looking at the pictures that have been released for that.
Yeah. And things like everything's still open to change, because it's still being developed. So they may just be placeholder images for now. We don't. One thing I didn't talk about in anything, going back to my beta thing, I'm just going to swing this back there a second.
Let's go.
When you killed the Wyvern, there was a new currency. Didn't tell you what it was. The icon was actually like a question mark. There was no like text or anything explaining what it was. But the interesting thing is that it has 2 different tiers of rarity. So there were blue ones and green ones. I just thought it was quite interesting that they're doing like split tier currencies for killing stuff. So that was something I just wanted to bring up while I'm at, because I didn't really mention it in my impression piece. And I did want to bring it up just as a little question mark.
So, there was a little mystery that we'll find out. So another thing that came from that blog post was the map bonuses, which I'm personally super excited about. And a lot of my notes here are actually just quotes from the blog post, because they seem to explain it a lot better than I could have possibly tried to mangle out. Basically one of the paragraphs explaining it from the blog post was, with Heart of Thorns, most explorable maps will have an associated set of bonus rewards that rotate on a regular basis. Starter maps will not be included in order to preserve the new player experience. By completing events, jumping puzzles, and mini dungeons in the map, you'll be periodically awarded with one of the associated bonuses in addition to the normal rewards. Most of the time these rewards will probably be crafting materials that for example, the example was Cursed Shore. You'll get Ancient Bones, Charged Cores, Charged Lodestones, or Giant Eyes. But they also mentioned it being on a rotation, so you could possibly also get Venom Sacs, Glacial Cores, Glacial Lodestones, or Globs of Ectoplasm during another rotation. This is one of those things that I was really kind of like, I don't see, it really seems cool, but it's really hard for me to get my head around how this will work. Like, when you complete a jumping puzzle, will it randomly give you the reward, or will it 100% give you the reward, or that sort of thing? The thing that made me more interested in it was the fact, this comment at the bottom, which was, the goal of this system, are to provide, oh, that doesn't sound right. The goal of this system is to provide ways for players to target the materials they need, let players know exactly where to obtain those materials, and help all explorable maps always feel relevant and rewarding to play. This is what sold me, because it's like, I need this. I hate, like, I need, for example, I needed powerful blood for a legendary that I was making, but I was like, well, there's really no guaranteed way. Like, I can go and farm Cursed Shore, but the only guaranteed way to get it is to farm money and then buy it. So this kind of like really feels really cool, like a really pointed way of doing it, and also it might make maps more relevant. For example, if you do one of the lower, like level 40 maps, you'll get claws or something like that. So that's I really like that a lot. But the really cool thing is that it's going to incorporate the current, I thought I wrote this down, but it seems I did not. That was very silly of me. But it's going to incorporate the other, the maps that have currencies, for example, Top Dry and Silver Waste. So at the moment, like, every time you complete a event, a chest pops up and you open it, but now they'll become map bonuses, which is really cool. I'm hoping this will improve Top Dry, because I love the Amberite weapons, but farming geodes is painful, because it's not like the Silver Waste where you can just hang out one area and just do every event, like events are spawning on top of you here, this and this and this, and you're never bored. But in Top Try, you're kind of like, well, I'll just stand here and hope an event spawns, like, yeah, they give you the timetable, but that means you're running from place and you have to have a timetable sheet active. And I don't know if I'm just becoming whiny, but I'm hoping this will improve the dry top anyway.
Yeah, I was saying, like, when I read it, it's like it's good. I'm really excited for it, because it's something to do when you're not, like, farming dungeons or, like, whatever people do in Guild Wars. But
what was that? Whatever you people do in Guild Wars, like,
whatever you people do,
whatever you young people do these days. You're part of the community.
I couldn't think of what to say, so I was just like, it was you people.
Oh, I'm sorry for giving you a hard time.
What was I? Yeah, I forgot my train of thought now. Yes. So, like, I think it's really going to, how successful it is going to depend on how much of the rewards you get for, like, how much time you invest in it. Because I think things like dungeons are always going to be the quickest and most profitable way to get the crafting mats you want. I think the idea with this is it's something different to do to get the mats you want. It's not necessarily going to be the fastest, but it's another way to, like, play the way you want to. And this is a point, like, I was talking about with Chris Blackline Chess when it came out, and he made this point. It's like, this is essentially about reinforcing the idea of play the way you want to achieve the goals you want. But
I mean, I'm a very selective player. Like, I play dungeons, and I'm like, you know what? For this week, I'm totally bored of dungeons. I'm gonna go do map completions, and then I get bored of map completions, and I just go and do something else. But often I find myself in the game, and I'm like, I want to do something different. I want to play the game, but I want to do something different other than. And I found Sab just so wonderful for scratching this particular itch because you could go in and play and it was different but it was still related to game, and it just made that kind of variety, and I'm hoping that this will provide the same sort of variety that Sab was itching. By the way,
Yeah.
it's coming very close to April.
It is.
And
It
if
is,
Sab
isn't
is
April,
going to
like-
come back, it will be coming back in April.
Well, we do have Tuesday the 31st. It could. 31st, the day before April Fool's Day. They could totally bring it back for like a day, and then take it away again on April the 1st.
Oh my god, you know how, like, I hate to talk about this because it's going to get everyone's hopes up and it's getting my hopes up, but I would scream so girlishly if they brought Sab back on April's Fools. How awful would it be if they're like on April Fools, they're like, and we're bringing Sab back, psych, April's Fools! Like, damn you! Yeah, April 1st is in 3 days, and like everyone's excited for Sab. Yeah, so I'm just about the map bonuses. That was definitely something I'm really looking forward to, and I think would be a great addition to the game. Just it's one of these sort of quality of life things that they've been added to the game that feels like, yes, this is the game. This is the game I want. You know?
Yeah, this is what should have been here at launch.
Yeah. No, we won't say those words because there's just way too much negativity in that.
But yeah, no, I am really excited. So I guess we should move on then to talk a little bit about specializations that we promised we'd do this week. So we were kind of struggling to think about what we could actually talk about that we could offer some insight on, because we haven't really heard too much about them yet.
No.
Hopefully we'll be hearing more about them soon because they're running out of things to tell us about now with blog posts. So surely specializations has to come up eventually. So the things we do know, we're kind of going to, I guess, go from the point of view of what are we kind of most looking forward to about them and kind of hopes about what they could turn into in the future, kind of beyond this expansion. So do you have a particular specialization you're looking forward to seeing?
Oh, geez. I mean, I love Ellie so much. And I don't know what they're going to do with their Ellie specialization. I'm super excited to see it. I'm hoping there'll be some melee thing to it, like we talked about this last week. So if there's a sword on an Ellie and makes it kind of a more melee class, that will make me so happy, man. So happy. But I think from what we know, what I'm most looking forward to is probably the staff on the ranger, because the druid is something that I quite am looking forward to, and I think a staff on a ranger would be just kick-ass, man. But so on a realistic plane, I think druid too, but if they announce sword for Ellie, I'm all over that. All over that like ants on a picnic.
I'm actually really looking forward to seeing like what the Revenant specialization will be, because I think people forget that that's actually going to have one as well. So it'll be interesting to see like what's different from like the base class to what they envision like doing a specialization. And you're doing the eyes at me, which means I'm not allowed to ask you a question because you're lagging.
No. I'm not lagging. I'm giving the eyes because I'm like the thing that you just linked to me.
Yeah.
I'm just like.
Okay, so that's those eyes.
So
yeah, but I guess I'm looking forward to all of them. The Guardian one, obviously, I'm looking forward to as a main class speculation that is a longbow, which to me makes sense. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. Necro, I'm actually really looking forward to as well. I don't actually play Necro, but I just think the amount of time they've spent investing in setting it up, it's got to be good. And especially, I can't remember which developer said it was their favourite, but I can't remember. One developer, I think it was more than one actually, have said that like the Necro specialization is their favourite out of all of them. So
yeah,
it should be good.
Well, the Necro has the greatsword, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's going to be ranged or melee, because it could go either way.
It could be.
We're seeing the greatsword ranged mesmer, so anything's possible. But I'm really interested to see what they would do with it. I hope it's melee. I think they could do a lot of really cool things with melee. And Sekuso.
Yeah. Go on, you do it. You've done the. You started.
I started it. It says I want to see the thief specialization or spec. Is that specialization?
Yeah.
And Vilda Kaigl. No, this person is so lovely. They always turn up to our shows, and we always mangle their name every single time. And I'm pretty sure
I think you do. I haven't.
Yeah, I do. I'm pretty sure he told me just to call him Velda. And so Velda says, I love Ellie's being able to imbue weapons with the elements, so just like extra frost damage without changing the skill set and maybe add effect to the weapon. That's an interesting concept.
That would be quite cool. 'Cause you could do that in Guild Wars 1, couldn't you? As an Ellie.
You could get attunements.
I'm pretty sure, couldn't you have things that did extra damage to your weapons?
Oh,
I think
I'm not sure.
Well, you could definitely with a rich list because you had like splinter weapon and stuff. I'm pretty sure.
No, you're 100% right. Yeah, you could add.
Well. So that would be quite cool to see. And then,
finding.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, go.
No, you started. No, you started.
Finding gadget.
Gadget. How can you not say gadget?
It's gadget. I can't believe I called it gadget.
So while Casey's getting over that, Fun and Gadget said Thief gets Warhorn, becomes a scout, special skill, die from a gust of wind. I think it'd be quite cool to see a Thief with a Warhorn.
I think so too.
Do you? I don't really know what else they could get. Like, what else would really suit a Thief? You're still.
I'm so sorry.
Maybe like an axe or something would be maybe quite cool.
Oh yeah. An axe or a longbow, I guess. Because the only it's one of those things.
Yeah.
I think Warhorn would make sense. But how sucky would it be if all the other classes get like a main hand, thing, and then like what your specialization is? I go Warhorn, and all the other classes are lined up looking magnificent with their staff or their greatsword, and the thief is there going. You'd feel sorry for them. Oh, Humiliation says mace for thief.
Kameleali, sorry, says from the way the devs speak about the thief specialization being awesome, it's either going to be awesome or the biggest troll ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh no, but that's really interesting. One of the things I wanted. Oh, should we just talk briefly about that picture that you linked? Is that legit? Yeah. What's going on there?
So that was data mined. I don't know was it that shaman that data mined it? He'll probably correct me now in chat. It was either it was that shaman or somebody else that had the basically data mined the LE sword stuff. It was at the time that data mined the revenant weapon skills. These were also like bundled in there. So it may be true. I mean, it's probably about as true as Shiro Tagachi is the next legend. So, take that what you want. But it seems quite cool and it makes sense.
These are really cool looking. I love that one of them says Frost Strike, gash at your foe to make them vulnerable.
Yeah, I think it's mostly placeholder stuff at the moment.
And just the word gash is just like ugh.
Let's not go into that. But yeah, no, it is really interesting. I'd be interested to see how the Ellie swords differ from like the Ellie dagger, because that kind of feels like the Ellie's go into melee range weapon. So it'd be interesting to see how they make a sword feel different as another melee weapon.
Well, the dagger doesn't feel melee. Like I said this before on the other show, it's like it's still ranged. It's just medium ranged.
Yeah.
Like you don't. It's not. It doesn't feel that melee. It doesn't feel like when you get on a hammer on a warrior and you just beat the ever living daylights out of something. It feels good. Oh my god, I'm making myself sound like a psychopath. But to be able to hit something and have that, like, because nothing that the LE does has that feeling or feedback, like, you know, melee feel.
Yeah.
So to have something that gives that melee feel would just be awesome. If it ends up like that, it's a sword, but it's kind of like the dagger where you like throw vapor blades or something like
in the air and it hits
yeah.
like.
I'm hitting you with my magic, you know, that sort of thing. I would be very disappointed. I definitely would be very disappointed.
Yeah. So we had a question from chat then. Do you remember who asked this?
Humiliation, I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay. Do you want to read it out
Yes.
since it's your...
Okay. Humiliation asked this early in the show, and I just copied it down because I thought it was a good thing for us just to discuss. Do you think Ooh la la?
Ooh la
la. Do you think Ula and Jorah? When I say it, I feel like I'm like putting on an accent.
I think it's just the Australian thing going on there. Jorah?
Yeah. Do you think Jorah? Do you think Ula and Jorah would be good legends? What kind of skills do you think they'd have? I think Ula. Oh God, that's awful.
Are you trying to do an Australian accent with an Australian accent?
But that's the Ocker Australian accent. Is like really like guttural and awful.
Okay.
I think my voice is nicer than that. I think Ula has as condition damage / something, and Jorah power / something else would be cool. So she's asking us what if Ula and Jorah came out as legends, what would they be?
It's really Ula as a legend. Ula, that is a really British way of saying it. Ula as a legend. Ula. So in a blog post we had at GuildMag last week, we talked about this in the last episode. So yeah, last week there was a blog post about Revenant Legends, and a writer speculated about Ula being kind of like a Golemancer, like kind of like the engineer has with turrets and things, maybe being like that. I don't know how that is. Yeah, so in chat, fun and gadget, Ula would be all about summons like Necro Minion Master.
I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I don't know. He points out, he said condition duration, not damage.
Yes, that was my bad.
Which I don't know. It would feel too much like Malik's. I think there's only gonna be one like condition focused legend. In terms of Jorah, I could see it working, but it
should be the powerhouse, surely.
Yeah, but to me, would it feel too similar to Jalis as like a hulking like beat you in the face sort of thing, or I don't know. I could see it working maybe.
Yeah.
It really depends how many more legends we're gonna get, because I definitely think Shiro and Glint are the next two. So it depends if we're gonna get more than 4 or not. I'd like to think we would. We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah. But they're definitely cool characters that could become legends. Jorah, I reckon, would have something to do with bears. And Ula would definitely have some sort of, I guess, mechanical or eternal alchemy feel to it. You know, that sort of theme or something like that. So yeah, there's been a few nice comments in here. Fun and Gadget says probably some nice crowd control on Shiro Tagachi.
Do you think? Crowd control. I don't know on Shiro. To me, Shiro would be a very like dart about the battlefield, kill one enemy, move on sort of legend. It seems it would suit his theme the most, I think. And Revenants have already got like shadow stepping with the mace. Axe number 4 skill. I had to think about that then. So I feel like that starting again. To me, Shiro would feel the most like a thief legend in like darting about and stuff. That's how I envision him anyway. And
Sorry.
No, go on.
Humiliation makes a good point. Without them, the Azura, Norn, and Char would have no legends. And she also mentions they mentioned, there we go, that Pyre, Fire Shot, and Kala Scorch-Razor would be good ones. And then that shaman suggests Drubit. But yeah, it's like, would they focus on having one for each race?
I don't know. I mean, Probably not, because like we've got dwarf and a demon at the moment.
Yeah.
They don't exactly fit into our races.
That's true.
I actually really think until like the Shiro and Glint thing was data mined, I generally thought like we might have a Char like Pyre Fear shot in there as like the ranged equivalent version of like a Shiro, like the range damage as opposed to like a melee damage one. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I think I think it really depends how many more legends we're gonna get. If we're gonna get any more than 4 or not. And then again, Humiliation says we have data mined Venatari. I have to first off, I have to apologise because the whole of the last episode I was saying Venatari from Dragon Age instead of Ventari.
Oh my god! I didn't even pick that up.
And I realised that's where I was saying it from. And that's like how I wrote it in the show notes last week, and I was just saying it like that for the whole episode. And then at the end of it, Sandra comes to me and goes, "You know, you were adding an E onto that," and I was like, "Oh no."
Is that because we were talking about the DLC right before the show or something like that?
I think so. So I just went through the whole episode saying Venatari, and nobody in chat corrected me. Nobody corrected me.
I didn't correct you. I didn't even notice. I was like, yeah, Venatari.
So we talked about on the last episode about Ventari maybe not being the third data mined legend. That shaman kind of had some insight on that. So we won't cover it now because we covered it a lot last episode. So definitely go and check it out on youtube.com/GuildMag if you missed it. But yeah, do we have anything else we want to add about specializations? There's not really much to go on at the moment. So we kind of.
Yeah, when we were talking about before show, I said, you know, all we're going to do is waffle on about things we don't know, and there's no point speculating or saying anything because we just don't have the information. So yeah, it's really hard to do that at the moment.
Absolutely. So Alaska in the chat said, "So I have a thought," and I'm just waiting for what the thought is.
Yeah, shall we like bluster and to get like make up some things until he like finishes it? Here we go.
Oh, he's okay. Keep going while he's formulating his ideas. So, one thing that was really we talked about in the stream is the engineer specialization, having like the turrets that move around them, and this was kind of we were talking about last episode about Ventari maybe having like wards that could move with you, if it ended up being a legend or something like that, like you had in Guild Wars 1 with wards, but like using the new technology that the Revenant has. I think it's really interesting how they're applying that to the other specializations as well, because like the engineer thing that has it is a lot like the Revenant hammers that spin around you. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm literally just trying to fluff my way until Alaska formulates their
someone
answers.
made a comment.
Yeah.
Udolis says, all I want is a thief with spear as a two-handed weapon above ground or mobility-based two-handed weapon. Yeah, that's definitely something they confirmed that they're not bringing as spears or tridents to above land.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing because I wanted my Kraken above land.
It could have been really cool having like a spear on a thief, like chuck the spear and then shadow step, and then cool.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, so Fun and Gadget asks, maybe that move where Lock showed off speeding between enemies as a silvery blow was a Shiro skill, or was it the axe mace thing? I'm actually not entirely sure. I think it may have been the axe mace skill. I'm not entirely sure, but I definitely think we're going to see more shadow stepping with a Shiro legend. I'm 100% convinced.
Yeah. Alaska finished off this thought.
Yeah. Do you wanna go for it?
All right. Alaska Winter 923 says, what 5 legends represent the 5 main stat bosses? Mallet condition, dwarf, toughness, and obviously any other ones we get would assuming would coincide with the stats.
Well, there's more.
So Shiro power.
What are the main ones? We have power. We need a vitality one.
Glint.
Maybe. So we've got condition damage, toughness. We need vitality, power, precision.
Or maybe that is Shiro.
So maybe Shiro's precision, Glint's vitality, and then power. We could even have like someone like Jorah.
Mm.
Um,
That's an interesting thought. That's what because we don't know how the developers are determining the legends. So that is a very interesting point. Dasham, not Sham, Alaska. I'm so sorry. We both got purple names. That's really interesting. I'm so glad we waited for that.
yeah, that's an interesting thought.
Then Tari could also be vitality.
Glint power
Yeah.
doesn't make too much sense.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, we'll see.
Yep.
Hopefully they'll release a blog post on it soon. We should have a new one this week detailing something. Not sure what, but hey, hey.
There's been such a slow trickle of information, but I guess we still have a lot of time to the release date. But still, I'm kind of worried that they'll just be like, "And here's the expansion." You'll be like, "But we know nothing about it."
Yeah. I mean, one thing we do have to look forward to is all the betas that are hopefully going to start rolling around now that they've done their stress tests. So I can't wait for them. Yeah, I think that's probably it for this episode then. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yes. I have another apology to make. The same as last week. So Angel always knows. She brought me up on this earlier in the episode, but she was saying that she waited for me on Thursday and I didn't stream again. And if you watched last week's episode, I didn't stream. I normally do a stream on Thursdays. My Thursdays, I don't know what it is for all you other guys.
It's our Thursdays as well.
Yeah, which I normally do just a little bit of a lore explore, and I didn't do it, and I'm so sorry. I 2 hours before the show, I was like, I've got a lore explore to do, and I was ready, and then all of a sudden it was 10 o'clock, and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't do it. And I kid you not, I avoided Skype because I didn't want to feel Rowan's wrath. He does never mean to me. Can I just say off, he's never mean to me. But I may be however thousands of miles away in Australia from England, but I could feel his disappointment in me. And he's like, no, it's fine, but I know it's not fine. So I did get punished, and that was me fearing Rowan. But I'm very sorry, and next week we'll return to normal. It will return to normal. I'm so sorry. I'm going to set an alarm on my phone, guys.
There we go. So do you have any ideas what you're going to be doing next week for your Lore and Explore?
I'm open up to suggestions. I might continue doing Brisbane Wildlands because that needs to be finished off. Or anyone who particularly wants a certain thing. If you guys want to know about Tengu or want to know about Nightmare Core, just give me a little Twitter message or anything, actually, and let me know what you want to hear lore about, and I can say it.
Absolutely. So that's every Thursday, 10 a.m. GMT. If you're in the UK, we have now moved to BST. I'm like a broken record when we do this. There's always a few people that turn up thinking that 10 a.m. GMT is the time in the UK. So we're an hour ahead. So it's 11 a.m. if you're in the UK, 10 a.m. GMT otherwise, or you'll have to convert it to your time zone off that, I guess. So twitch.tv/GuildMag on Thursdays. And yeah, it's a really good laugh, and I turn up when I can when I'm not in bed. So yeah, I definitely recommend you check it out. And then obviously we'll be back next Sunday for the GuildMag podcast. We don't know what we'll be talking about yet, but we should have some good stuff.
Hopefully something will come through the grapevine, or they'll make another blog post.
Yeah, absolutely. So every Sunday, 10 a.m. GMT, 11 a.m. BST, twitch.tv/GuildMag. Thanks to everyone who joined us live today. There were some more questions in chat about specializations. We'd answer them, but we've already gone over our hour. And Casey's hungry. Casey hasn't eaten yet, so
it's like you know me so well. It's like, are you at my stomach speed dial, or do I actually? It's just because I complain every after every show. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go now and eat.
So if you we will more than happy to answer your questions after the stream's over, or in the comments on YouTube or on next episode, so keep them coming in. We do read them all and we do discuss them all. Whether or not we get a chance to talk about them on the actual show is another thing. But yeah, thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you in a week's time. So
yes, thank you.
Bye everybody.
Bye everyone.